Folks back home, I'm surrounded by Mesa Boogie at the moment, and we do approve already how rigid they are, because me and my 250 pounds are sitting on one of the amps. So they're good. You can take them anywhere. They will hold whatever you do with them. We collected questions beforehand, and to see how good the questions were, you see plenty of Mesa persons in here to be able to answer them from all directions. So the first one down the road would be the tonal difference between bass prodigy and bass strategy. Who feels responsible for that answer?
You want to kick in?
Yes, I'd love to.
Resident bass player.
Resident bass player.
And R&D.
Probably the most obvious tonal difference is punch and power. The strategy is nearly double the wattage, but it's just so much more punch and so much more power. Transformers, twice the tubes. Tonally, they're actually very similar. They're intended to be similar. They use essentially the same components across the board. In the Prodigy, with the exception of the transformer, is a little brighter. In the transformer.
And we did that on purpose.
Yep. Yeah. To add a little bit of a sort of cut.
An attack.
An attack. But otherwise, they're really designed to be the same, so the difference really comes from power and punch and the width of the sound, because there's headroom, because there's so much more power available.
I think that should answer the question for making a selection, which direction to go.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what you did to it, but somebody said that you changed the layout of the FX loop on the mini rectifier.
It wasn't the layout. We pulled off the bypass switch because after polling people, no one used it. They all left the loop in all the time, and it was kind of a switch that didn't really need to be there. So we yanked it off, and the loop's exactly the same, the circuit's exactly the same, it's just the loop is in all the time. And it was somewhat of a redundant switch because the jacks themselves had switches on them, so that when it was, on but nothing was plugged in, the circuit was still connected.
Bypassed.
Bypassed. Okay. Electrodyne concept that you had, is that still somewhere around or being evoluted into a different amp, or would you find the concept already in one of the amps that you released?
Well, first of all, we never talk about things that we're doing.
That's of course
until they come out.
I usually say there's some fog in my glass bowl.
Yeah. So there's that. But I will say that we all love that circuit.
Okay.
It's a great sounding circuit.
Right.
But I would say that there's a good possibility in the future we'll revisit that on some model that will have more control of each channel than that amp provided.
And also, wouldn't we say that the Royal Atlantic is the one that is probably the
It's
a cousin, yeah.
It's a cousin of it. It's voiced different. The Electrodyne's definitely simulclass output, so that rolls off that real tight, sharp top end a little bit. But the Royal circuit-wise is a cousin of the Electrodyne, so the Royal Atlantic. Yeah.
Another exotic thing is a 19-inch rec. You had a rectifier recording preamp as a Mesa 100.
Okay.
And it looks like at least one person who asked the question is missing those.
The rectifier preamp is still made, still available.
Yep.
The 100 was discontinued, but the 290 is still available. We were the original pioneers, I think, of the 19-inch rack mount format, and times have changed, and lots of people like clean amplifiers and pedals. But at the same time, we're seeing
an increase
in rack mount interest, and we plan to be.
And one of the things, if somebody's interested in that, is they could order the Rectiverb 25 in a rack mount kit.
Right.
And that would
Okay.
be, that would be a great rig for somebody. There's ample power for many a situation, great for recording and
Yeah.
for just a good portable rig for somebody.
Okay.
Most of the amps we make, if they are within the 19-inch wide format, we make a rack mount
make
kit
them
that would allow
available,
you to take the amp and put it into that rack mount kit so
Okay.
that you can rack it. So Lone Stars, the Strategy bass amp obviously is shown as a head, but you can do it as a rack mount. The Rectoverb. I'm trying to think what else. Most of them can be rack mounted.
I'm not aware, but you might want to check. Do you have a hint on the website which amps are rack mountable?
We don't. Although
So that would be the
for
feedback.
each amplifier, it is listed if it is rack mounted. So
Okay.
there isn't
Under
a
the
separate
amp itself,
list, but
yeah.
under the amp information
Yeah.
itself, it will say.
But
it
if somebody is searching Google for the expression rack mount,
Yeah.
it would be cool if we would end up at a matrix of yours where you have individual real rack mount models and
Yeah.
models that would fit into
Adaptable.
Sure.
adaptable. Makes selection easier and
Yeah.
as well keeps the others that are not obviously racks
Yeah.
in play
Yeah.
for using them.
No, that's a great idea.
We just
Yeah.
got some quality search engine optimization info.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. It's
It
actually
is.
a really good idea.
Learn
Yeah.
something every day.
Rectify and Roadster, at least for some of the users, and that got confirmed by a like on the initial post, so there's more people that think the same direction. They're a winning team in conjunction with a Tube Screamer.
Yeah, I could see that.
So however, the Tube Screamer as a format has the problem of the not available full bypass, true bypass.
Ours
Ours
is
is.
a true bypass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our gain relative of the Tube Screamer, which is
Because
the
the-
Grid
the-
Slammer.
The question they had is why not sort of build it in immediately into the amp?
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. So far, we haven't done it. That's not to say we won't in the future,
Yeah.
but it is something we've talked about.
Okay.
Because, it's more of a concept thing than it is an actual difficult circuit thing. It's
Right.
easy to do circuit-wise. It's just
Yeah, well-
conceptually, we're not sure that everybody wants that in the front of their amp. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
since-
there's something like because I was thinking of the questions myself because I've been confronted to them yesterday
Okay.
by typing them together and sort of translating them into English.
Okay.
And since I can't stop my brain working around those potential solutions,
Yeah.
here would be my idea: have a front-end effects loop,
Yeah.
so you can always provide on your side
Yeah.
the true bypass
Yeah.
from the signal to one option to go out and come back in.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
It's interesting.
It'd be a
So everybody plugs into the front end of the amplifier,
yeah. and it
but you
goes
give a
out, yeah.
way to go out to
Yeah.
pre-amplification.
Exactly.
Um,
Still fed by your guitar signal.
yeah,
but it's
still fed by
before-
the guitar signal,
Yeah.
but you can cut it off and you have full control
Yeah.
how this is done instead of relying on
Yeah.
true standby
True
positions
bypass, yeah.
of anything that is in front of that, including tuners and whatsoever
Yeah.
that you want to have out of the signal change.
Yeah.
Like a tuner would be in there as well.
Yeah.
And if you be able to take it completely out of the signal change, you make guitar players out there happy.
Yeah. No, that's true.
The immediate solution is that we sell a Grid Slammer. It's,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
tube. That's the Tube Screamer that has the true bypass.
bypass,
that
yeah.
that would probably.
Our take on it.
Yeah, it could exceed people's expectations. So if you haven't checked out a Grid Slammer, the
Should.
solution exists already. But this is a good idea
Yeah.
that you're talking about.
One problem on our amplifiers with that idea though is space, chassis space, because we tend to fill up our panels
With features
with
and
switches and
that's a
tone
great
controls.
idea though.
Yeah.
I do like the idea. I really
Okay.
like the idea. So we'll have to think on that.
In the music business, in the guitar world, you're not different than any other company out there in regard to Fender, who has to fight copies and clones, like Gibson has to fight copy and clones.
Yeah.
Most of the designs that are unique and good find people that try to rebuild them.
Yeah, of course.
You could have different position in reacting to it. You could be angry, you could be pleased and happy that your product is that good that it's worth copying. Or you could say, I'm completely neutral because my original product is better anyway.
Yeah.
Where in that scale would you find yourself?
It's a great question.
It depends, actually. It depends on the situation, whether or not it's, you know, there in some situations where there's an infringement, if it's a patent infringement or trademark or something like that, well, we obviously have to protect that, you know, in order to protect our brand or the design or whatever. But, you know, I think a lot of times, and Randy would say this, is that
it's the free market, right?
Well, yeah, and the fact that somebody copied your stuff it's the highest form of flattery as well. Is that, well, okay, so we've set a standard that somebody wants to copy, and you know, I mean, there's examples of that everywhere. Yeah. Whether it be guitars, amps, or cars, or anything, it's that, you know, the fact that we could set a new standard that people would want to follow. I think it's, you know. I think that's always, ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, once we've seen it, we always walk away with that feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, so far, everyone who's copied us doesn't go the extra mile that we've gone to. And it's difficult to do what we do, especially here in California.
To a degree, it's impossible. You know, we talked about on the tour today about all of the customizations of components and all of the additional levels that will go to, whether it's Randy making a decision in a design where there absolutely has to be a certain value of a component or a custom pot to create just the right feel on the control, how scrutinous we are of our speakers, all of that. It makes what we believe is, you know, exceptional, superior. So it would be difficult, despite someone trying to flatter us. The hardest they could try, they would probably come to a place where they went, "Wow, there's no way we can do this." It's like we're going to barely get close.
Which basically is that being proud of my own product aspect that I mentioned earlier.
Well, and we truly do spend a lot of money on parts that are really high quality. And that's part of our mindset and our goal is to make something that's it's a work of art. It's an instrument that will be around for years and years and years. We're trying to make instruments here, not just disposable electronics products. You know, and the other thing to add to what Jim said is, you know, Randy, I think at last count 18, 20 something patents the guy holds. You know, he's so.
He's been a true innovator.
Yeah, he's
in
a
this
true
industry.
innovator,
right.
And there's a lot of secrets that we can't even patent that we just are sworn to secrecy on that really matter. You know, the things that we've discovered over the last 44 years that are just, they really matter, and we don't think that most people have discovered them yet because so far we haven't heard it. You know, and when we play other people's stuff, and we play other people's stuff.
Sure.
You know, and you know. But so far we haven't seen anybody knock off our stuff exactly yet, and we hope they never do.
Certainly wouldn't be easy.
Yeah, it wouldn't be easy.
If I've learned one thing during doing the tour today, because it was from A to Z, everywhere in there, is that quality does matter. Yeah. Which for the folks back home also means we're going to skip the question of going to Asia. Yeah. Next question.
Thank you. That's one that we've answered many times. It's just a big no-can-do with us.
Easy answer, not going to happen.
Yeah, not an option. Not an option.
When you start building an amp, there's that engineering portion and there's that trial and error portion in there. How close to the predicted end result do you get on the engineering side before trial and error has to take over and do all the fine-tuning?
That's an easy one.
That's an easy one.
We're almost 100% trial and error.
Okay.
You know? I mean, the engineering part, that's Randy's art form and Dan's art form and all. But we're big believers in trial and error. We don't take anything for granted. We don't look on paper and go, that'll be great. You know, we're nuts and bolts guys. We do it. You know? We're down trying.
We listen.
Yeah, we listen.
And listen and compare.
And there's been times where we had a concept and we went for the concept, and during that process, magic started to happen, and we just we just followed the magic. We didn't even worry about what the original concept was, and ended up coming up. The rectifier was that way. The original dual channel, rectifier was that way. We were going for one thing and ended up in another, and it was magic, and we made them for 20. We're still making them almost 25 years later. So
Well, and Randy always refers to that process, which is very much relevant to R&D, which is that you're wandering through the desert in search of greatness.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the process. We sort of allow the process to unfold, to try and hear things, although it's a very well-developed process. You and Randy have gone over that for 30-plus years now. Those two are very closely connected in their language and their vocabulary. They're able to communicate in ways that the rest of us would kind of sit there and go, "Whoa, what did he just say?"
Yeah.
I don't. But yeah,
A hidden
very
hint
good at it.
somewhere.
But I think that's a big testament to Jim, too, because we've built the company, and Jim has helped build the company to allow for that time, that creative space and that time.
Yeah, that's what I learned. He's sort of organizing
Yeah.
and keeping your back free
Yeah.
to be creative.
Yeah.
So,
You're
so
done.
probably you're one of the best tour managers around because
Absolutely.
you don't really stop them from spending money.
The best.
You allow them to spend some money on the way
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
if it
it's
helps
a
the
good
product,
analogy.
you let them go and do their trick.
Yeah.
And
Play the gig.
yeah, and
It isn't
money-
always easy.
Yeah, yeah. You have to create the space for magic to happen, basically, and that's what we do here. And
Mark V was like that. We were going to release it, and we, at the last screaming minute before NAMM, like literally the night before NAMM, we're like, you know what? It's not blowing our minds yet. We need to wait. And so we waited a whole nother year and kept working on
Okay.
it. And we're glad we did at this point because
True.
it's been an amazing selling amp ever since, and
Yeah.
got John Pertucci and everybody else that uses them real happy.
the same thing with the bass amps. That we
Bass
just came
amps,
out
too.
with. They took we thought
Extra
Took a little
year.
extra time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with the bass amps.
I think that there's more and more, but we covered plenty of ground already. One more would be the music changes and tonal preferences changes over time. To provide the right amp at the right time, you have to be ahead of time because you need time to develop and ship and all that stuff. How do you stretch out to the customers to find out what they will need in 3 years from now?
We don't chase trends that much.
Yeah.
I think we've created a few. Like I said,
Mhm.
been late shooting for one thing, and then we're late because it doesn't satisfy us, and
Okay.
landing on another trend,
Yeah.
And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, good stuff will always work.
Yeah,
So
that's really the key.
probably
It's
the
like
key of it.
going for the ultimate quality and the ultimate sound, whatever the style is, because
I mean, we pay attention to musical styles and everything that's out there, and we also have been around long enough to know that it's cyclical as well.
Yeah,
Things
sure.
come back around, and so that's why we end up, a lot of the stuff that we create, even though it might not be our most popular selling model, we keep them around a lot of times
true.
because people will come back around to
Come
them
back.
because it's the style always it's only a handful of styles out there really.
Right.
It's kind of like clothing, it's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Very fashion.
Guitar players
Yeah, I've
very
got stuff
conservative, really, when it
that
comes
is
down
sitting
to it.
on the left side of
Yeah.
My closet
Yeah.
that will be good in 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we pay attention. We
Yeah.
have we listen to artist relations and customer feedback, websites. We're always looking, but I don't know if anybody can really predict where music is going to go 3 years from now.
Okay.
It seems to
Yeah.
kind of surprises us from time to time.
Right.
Which is what's great about it.
It's a lot like bands chasing a hit song that's on the radio right
Yeah.
now. By the time you get your version of it done,
Yeah,
things have moved on. So,
True.
So you just got to go for what really is in your heart. We follow our hearts a lot on it.
All right.
And the tones that we love.
practical side, then we close it up. We talked about it earlier. I get lost in the options of my Mesa Boogie amp. How do I get back on track?
Which Mesa Boogie amp?
It would be any.
matter.
Is there like a basic
Yeah.
starting point to, instead of going complete back to zero or
Yeah.
everything at 12 o'clock, where you said, okay, I have, I can't get a
Yeah.
clear sound of it.
I see where you're
I'm
going.
not happy.
I have something.
Yeah, go.
Where do I
ahead.
go?
Well,
So,
we talked about this earlier.
yeah, that's why I brought it up again.
Mesa Boogie's manuals are written by a guitar player. They're written by Doug.
Okay.
Lots of other manuals are written by engineers that may in some cases be too technical. Hard to say, everyone has different ones. But I think our manuals are very readable. I think they're very instructive. And I think that there's great information. There's great education to be had. So lots of people, we talked about earlier, they don't like to read a manual. They just want to play an amp. Well, that's great because
we do too.
We do too. Yeah, it's like I just got a new toy. I want to go play with it. But even if you're a person that just doesn't even really like to go to a manual for one reason or another, we would highly suggest it because there's great information that will help someone get to where they need to be. They're really great manuals. The other thing is listen with your ears, not your eyes.
That's a big one.
We in customer service, we're talking to people all the time. Close your eyes and listen. Don't look at settings and don't allow the settings to tell you what you think you're supposed to hear. Because boogies are unique in a lot of ways, but one of the ways is that the sound that was great on your old amp or the setting I should say, is probably not going to be something that you'll be able to apply automatically, but it'll probably get you in a ballpark. If you stop looking at the setting and turn the knobs and listen, you'll probably get there faster than if you think there's something that you're missing.
Right.
And also, most of our amps, a lot of the great sounds are in the middle of the controls, like you mentioned, 12 o'clock. And we pay attention to that as we're designing the amps. That's one of the things that can hold us up sometimes. Is we love the sound, but the sound is appearing way over here on 9.5, and we need to get that same sound appearing at 6 or 7 or something. So we pay attention to that. Bass amps and guitar amps of what feels right and natural to us as we play them. So
that's where all of our custom pots come from.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would add, and if you're talking about complexity as well, is all the multi-channel amps, they're actually laid out really intuitively.
Yeah.
But if people look at the whole amp as a whole, it can be a little overwhelming because you don't have to adjust all of that at once. I would suggest covering up everything except for the one channel and focus on one channel and learn that channel,
and then
move on to the next
time.
one. Yeah, and take it one step at a time, and then you'll realize that it's like, wow, I just bought 3 amplifiers. Really, it isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't that there's too many controls. It's like, really, I have 3 amplifiers.
That's a great point.
Even
to the point where we almost joked around the original Mark V ad of duct taping 2 of the channels and just go start here, with channel 1, because channel 1 alone is more than a lot of amps. And
once you learn one channel,
when shipping them, it's like call us in 2 months and we release channel 2 to you.
Exactly.
We'll unlock channel 2.
Unlock channel 2.
Unlock channel 2. No, it's a real concern, but like Jim said, if you take it more like a mixing board approach where each channel is the same, because that's another thing we pay attention to, is let's make it so that, there's 3 channels, but like Jim said, 3 amplifiers. It's really 3 amplifiers. So
people don't complain about mixing boards.
Yeah, they never complain.
Right?
No.
It's like, I need those channels because. So if you approach it, that's a really good analogy. So the mixing board. It's like, wow, they're just.
It's like a
these
channel
guys
strip.
are giving me, 3 different amplifiers.
I think our most complicated amps were made quite a while ago, like Mark IV, Mark III. Amps that had 1 row of controls but had all these pull pods. We try to steer away from that these days a little bit because we realize it causes people trouble. And so we're trying to, go down the mixing board.
So sort of user interface is
trying to simplify it. That was the big thing about the Mark V, is trying to take all that sonic power that existed on the Mark IV and the Mark IIc and package it up so guys could get to those sounds quicker and easier. And it seems like it's worked because it's been a real successful amplifier.
And finally, we encourage customers to contact us for help. We want to educate customers. We want to help them get the most from their amplifier. We want to help them get the most from their music. So it can be complex. There's decades of history of people getting great sounds, and we make these instruments, lots of them very versatile, and it just takes sometimes a little bit of insight. So we encourage people to contact us via email. Obviously, if you're in Europe, you can contact us via email. You can call us on the phone, and we will help you get great sounds, and we look forward to that.
Cool. I'm done.
Nice.
All I want to say is It's still lasting my weight, so it's still strong, built strong, which closes the circle. I want to say thank you to all of you for opening the door, transporting emotions, transporting information, letting us wander around and get some ideas of what you do and how you do it.
Yeah.
And that's the important difference to others that might be out there. Final words towards the board?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, our fans.
And thank you
Couldn't do
for
it without you.
taking the time and making the trip and coming to visit. We love to share what we do, and you are, taking your time to share that with others. So, thank you, and thank you all.
Yeah.
Well,
a pleasure meeting you and new friends.
yeah, we'll make a stop at Music Mesa. You make a stop before Music Mesa
right.
or after,
Yeah.
whatever's going to happen.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you for the patience.
Thank you.
Take care.